Now let's bring in Senator Rand Paul. Senator, peace talks seem to be halted indefinitely. What do you want to see happen next?
You know, I think we're all hoping for a swift end to the war. I think the economic dislocation in Iran is obvious. There's also an economic problem that's creating here and around the world. So we hope for a swift end. We want our soldiers to be out of harm's way. And we'd like to see, peaceful relationship begin with Iran, as soon as we can. But I think when people talk about, well, we're going to get them to do things through sanctions or through more threats, perhaps. But diplomacy also involves the unwinding of threats and the unwinding of sanctions. Many people argue that sanctions are actually of more value if you trade relief of sanctions for behavior changes. When you put the sanctions on, they tend not to change behavior, but there is a chance as you unwind, and we have hundreds and hundreds of sanctions. But in order to get to a diplomatic deal, you're going to have to offer to the Iranians, if you do X, we will get rid of X. So like, for example, if you really want them to be rid and give up their enriched uranium, which would be great and a big step forward, you probably have to offer something in return, not just the military defeat, but they're going to want something in return, either a free up of some of the cash that's being held or some relief as far as sanctions or some relief as far as the blockade. But if people are open to that, I think a peace arrangement could be found. It's still just unclear to me exactly who we're negotiating with, whether these are more hardline or less hardline, whether they're reliable or whether they have the ability to negotiate for the whole country. There are a lot of unknowns.
You got it. Next, Senator, President Trump's Fed Chair nominee, Kevin Warsh, he was grilled by your colleagues at his confirmation hearing. Just watch this tense moment with Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Having a sock puppet in charge of the Fed would also give the president access to the Fed's powerful authorities to enrich himself, his family, and his Wall Street buddies. In other words, a Fed under Donald Trump's control creates more opportunities for Trump's corruption.
Senator, how do you feel about Warren calling Warsh a sock puppet?
Well, I think Warsh has a significant career and credentials of his own. I don't think there's been any evidence so far in his career that he is in the bag for any politician or in the bag for, we just want soft interest rates or low interest rates, no matter what the economy is doing, no matter what the repercussions. So I don't think that fits with his resume. And, time will tell, but I think you have to base your judgment on voting for somebody basically on their previous record. He's been a governor before, he's been in private practice, he's made many pronouncements and statements, and I guess I don't see it consistent with his history so far that he would be in the bag for one politician.
Senator, Budget Chair, Senator Lindsey Graham, he's unveiled a new budget resolution to fund ICE and Border Patrol through the end of Trump's term. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, he's already throwing a yellow flag. Watch this.
Americans want one thing now. Relief. That's what Americans want right now. Lower gas, lower groceries, lower electric bills. Unfortunately, Republicans seem to have a different priority. $140 billion for ICE and Border Patrol. No reforms, no accountability, no strings attached. That's these days what the Republican Party seems to stand for. Senate Republicans are choosing to follow Trump and Stephen Miller instead of the needs of the American families.
All right, let's backtrack, Senator. Do you support Senator Graham's plan?
Well, it's a budget, and I support the idea of having budgets. I think budgets are important. I think it's one of the biggest problems we have up here is we don't adhere to them. So we passed a budget last year that came out of this same committee, and it said this year we would spend $4.8 trillion, but we're going to spend $5.9 trillion. So my problem with these documents is not that they don't have good intentions or not even that the numbers aren't good. The numbers sound good. 4.8 trillion is better than 5.9 trillion, but we're not adhering to them. And so basically they become a farce. And people say, well, it's really just a vehicle to get to spend ICE money. And it's like, yeah, but what about the budget deficit? Doesn't anybody care? So my whole point is yes, we should have a budget. The budget numbers don't look terrible, but how come we don't ever adhere to them? Because the budget's not really a law, it has no force of law, but we should adhere to it as a document. For goodness sake, we spend $7 trillion up here, and we bring in $5 trillion. And they're just going to do it over and over again. So my biggest objection is to the whole farce of a budget that isn't even worth the ink that it's printed with.
Okay, I think we're going to leave it there, Senator Rand Paul. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks a lot.